Hi guys, I'm Steex on the video production. Today I just wanna compare the Driftwood Purple Nightmare by STL Tonality with the real amplifier Driftwood Purple Nightmare. First of all, let's say that this video is not a review, so I'm not going in depth with the stone boxes, the cabinets, the effects, and stuff like that. I only want to compare the sound and the behavior of the plugins, the official plugin by STL Tonality, with the real amplifier Purple Nightmare. I'm endorser of Driftwood Purple Nightmare, so I really know how the amplifier has the sound. Let me introduce my routing. I'm using the Gibson Les Paul Standard. This is my Gibson with Alnico 5 pickups. I'm going directly to that AB box that I self-made, basically to use one single signal to spread the signal in stereo, to use one to the real amplifier and one to directly to my PreSonus 192 audio interface like DI. Okay, so for the real amplifier I'm using the Torpedo Captor X to, of course, lower the volume and use the amplifier with very high master volume. Actually, I don't know which final tubes have been matched with the Driftwood amplifier, because this amplifier is a boutique amplifier. You can buy the amplifier with all the features and tubes you want. For example, my Driftwood amplifier has the 6L6 on the final, which is basically the most common for this type of metal tone. I don't know if STL Tonality use the same tubes, but you know, the difference that I show you does not depend on the tubes. Okay, to make this comparison, I'm not using the cabinet inside the STL Tonality, of course, because I want to use the same amplifier and the same cabinet. So the cabinet I'm using is an impulse response of the David Laboga cabinet with Vintage 30 and East Electronics Ribbon R1 microphone. Is a Ribbon microphone, it's wonderful. This impulse response you can download from the link in the description of Presets for All website. So let's listen the difference. Real amp, STL, real amp, STL. The sound is pretty similar, but the difference is on the dynamics and on the harmonics. The real amplifier has more harmonics, has more open sound, as you can listen here, is more saturated with the same settings. I'm not saying that this STL Tonality does not sound good. It's amazing. The sound of the plugin is amazing, but does not reproduce the same behavior of the real amplifier. This is what I want to focus on. But the main difference of this plugin is on the clean signal. So let's change the channel without TS. This is the sound. And you can listen that it's pretty clean, even if the volume of the preamp is all the way up. And with these settings, let's listen how the real amplifier sounds. This is how the real amp sounds. It's kind of like a brown sound, almost, but the plugin sounds like this. It's almost clean. So we cannot get the saturation of the clean channel to get the crunch tone. Even if I use more gain and lower the output volume, this will not add any saturation add only a volume. I have only to introduce the tube screamer, the gain of the tube screamer, but will it not sound like the amplifier. Real amp, it's more rich. I love the amplifier. I love this amp, the real amp. Again, totally different. I cannot get the real saturation in this channel. Another thing that I want to check between the plugins, every kind of plugins, and real amplifier is the behavior with the master volume. A real tube amp with master volume all the way up will get more open sound, just a bit more muddy tone, saturating the final tubes, so the 6L6. Let's listen if this behavior is taken into account by STL Tonality. So let's go to the second channel, raising the master volume and lowering the preamp volume. So let's listen to sound with the TS, do the same settings, volume, tone, and gain, pretty much like this. Okay, let me do the same settings on the real amp. Okay, let's record and listen the difference. The real amplifier, STL, the master volume on the real amplifier, I can listen it's more rich of midtones. Of course, can get more fuzzy because the tube amps are way saturated, and this is not taken into account in the STL tone. It sounds more clear in the STL tone, it's more defined, the tone. But I think that when you raise the master volume, you cannot get this perfect tone. You get the tone that it's more muddy, it's just a bit more confused. Now let's listen the difference with lower master and higher volume on the preamp. Okay, now let's listen the difference. Let me record again. STL. You can listen that with the master volume all the way up, the amplifier sounds way better because we are saturating the final tubes. With the master volume low and the preamp volume higher, we cannot get this opening tone. It's just a bit more stuck. Let's listen the difference with the STL. There is no difference, because the STL Tonality is not taking into account the behavior of a real tube amplifier. So, in my opinion, this plugin sounds very cool. It's a really cool plugin. It sounds really good for high gain tone, but in my opinion, it's not matched so good to the real Driftwood amplifier. It sounds very similar with some settings, but the real behavior of the Driftwood Purple Nightmare and the behavior of a tube amplifier is not taken into account by STL Tonality. So guys, you have the link in the description of these wonderful plugins. You have the link also of impulse responsive, very high quality. You can download from presetsforall.com, and see you later in a next video. Bye.